All right, welcome and good morning or afternoon, everyone, depending on where you're joining us from. We have panelists and viewers from all around the world making this truly a global event and a conversation that's much needed right now. So as Anu mentioned, the subject of our talk is grief, gratitude, and grace. We're going to be discussing utilizing the tools of grace and gratitude to help you walk through grief and use these tools to enrich your life and the lives of others. Because of COVID, grief is being felt on a global scale right now. Many have lost family and friends this year, and many are grieving the loss of life as we knew it. So as a world, we're experiencing collective grief. Today, I have 5 speakers with me, inspiring and empowered women from all different various professional backgrounds that I'll be speaking with. Each woman is going to share her story and answer some really important questions, some of which are, what have you learned from this time? What are you most grateful for? And what is the thing you most look forward to doing post-pandemic that you feel will have the most positive impact in your life and the life of others? So I'd like to go ahead and open the conversation, and we're going to start with Patrice Register. Patrice is an entrepreneur, author, speaker, startup specialist, and her most important role, cherished role, is that of an inspirational thought leader. So Patrice, if you could please go ahead and share your story and thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Sarah. Can you guys hear me okay? Awesome. So my story really began when I was working in corporate America. And with that, I saw that real glass ceiling, and that's really made me step out into the entrepreneurship world. And since doing that, it has allowed me to have the freedom that I needed to care for my mom. It's been really tough during this pandemic because my mom currently is in the hospital with COVID pneumonia. We thought she had gotten over it. Well, she did. She recovered. She had it back in December. So now she's experiencing this again. And so at this moment, it is so important that as we are working to make impact in our world, is that we have to think about our families, our friends, people that are close to us, and how they are really looking at this pandemic at this time. So my story is one, probably same as many others, transitioning from another career to another career and becoming that inspirational thought leader. When I was talking to Sarah, we had a really nice conversation, and I said, I want to be inspiring to people, give them hope, especially during this time. I could be all sad and not knowing, trying to figure out what to do and how to do, but we serve, and I'm very spiritual, we serve a mighty God. And he has really, as I tapped into my spiritual side, it's really strengthened me to move forward with the things that I know what my purpose is. And so with that, I'm just excited to be on this call to share today and to really understand, where we are in life and how we need to be moving forward. So I thank you guys for allowing me to be on this panel and share my thoughts.
Thank you so much, Patrice.
Yes.
So I think what we'll do is we'll let each person, present, and then let's just open it up afterwards, since we have a small group for a Q&A and further discussion. That way we make sure everyone has time to share their story. So now I'd like to pass it on to Lavinia. She is an analyst, entrepreneur, and content creator. She has different projects that help to empower women to help them work remotely and share their stories about breaking free from the norms and inspiring others to do so. So Lavinia would like to talk about grace and gratitude and normalizing the discussion of grief, which is really, really important. So Lavinia?
Yes, thank you for having me here. It's a really, really great panel, and I would like to say that I wish more people when we talk about tech as well, because especially as a woman in tech, it is lonely and it is hard. And people don't normalize talking about this. So it's great to be here. For me, when Anu approached me for the panel, she was like, maybe, we're talking about death, dealing with grief and so on. I'm like, I would like to come in from a different approach, because when my mom was diagnosed with cancer about a year and a half ago, like it was a difficult journey, and that was what I'm looking to share. My learnings and my journey is what I'm looking to share with you all today. I'd also like to share how again it can be lonely as an entrepreneur, just like Patrice said, moving from one career to another, trying to juggle things, trying to juggle family, and since a lot of us are women of color, dealing with traditions and the burden of taking care of family, and how all of that ties in is what to be talking about today. Thank you.
Excellent. All right. So I'd like to now move to Octavia. Octavia is a certified life and sex coach. She is the Harriet Tubman of your sex life, leading you from sexual frustration and repression to sexual liberation. So that's your professional background. And you're used to working with women, empowering them and freeing them. Can you share just more of your story and your journey during this time and what you've been learning?
Yes, thank you for having me. I think the pandemic affected us all in a way that it put us at a standstill, the world, actually. So what do you do? What do you do when the world is afraid and not knowing what to do? I was listening to some of the ladies share about their mom, and I actually, while none of us got COVID or anything, and yes, you can be grateful for that. My mom was actually dealing with radiation during the time. And so just recently, she's actually been in the hospital for now a few weeks. And I've been like really just submerging myself into work because I can't be there because of COVID restrictions and whatnot. And my sister has lupus and is there. And so I'm the one with all the kids. So I have 5 children. So it's like, no, you stay there. I'll go because, you need to be, at home during this time. So it's been actually pretty hard for me to have that guilt of I'm not there for my mom. She was always there for me. I'm not there for her. But I learned to be grateful during this time that at least my sister is there. I have to look at it that way, that someone is there with her. And though I cannot physically be there and I can't really do a lot of calling either because she can't really talk a lot right now, I sit down for like a few minutes each day and just think about whether she has been in times when I needed her, like growing up, kind of go back to those days because I didn't have the best childhood, but I remember me and being there in the same way I feel for her now and her time of being protective, even though I'm not there with her physically. So I sit and meditate and have good thoughts, and that does a lot for my brain and that makes me feel really good, even though something really bad might be going on. And that's what helps me to keep going with the things I have to do, because I still have to be here for my household, for my husband, children. So even though there's something going on in another state that I can't be. So I'm actually really big on gratitude and having those little small gratitude sessions. Only a few minutes. If it's only for a few minutes, that's something that I do daily.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Excellent. Thank you so much. I'd like to now turn it to Pamela. Ms. Pamela is a coach, podcast host, magazine co-founder, author, and speaker. She's also an empowerment coach for women in and out of corporate. She'd like to share her story and about how you can use grace to soar to your vision. So Pamela?
Absolutely. First and foremost, thank you for allowing me to be here, and as well as thank you all who are sitting here listening to our stories and gracing us with your presence. So let me say a little bit about how I got here. I too still work in corporate, but I realized as I'm sitting in corporate at home that I became the powerhouse of my house. Though I am married, my husband and my daughter has her own home and I have grandkids. I had to show grace to my family that though we are going through this COVID, it's not going to take us out. And what I mean by that is my daughter actually lost her job. So now I'm not only supporting my house, I'm supporting her house as well. So this has really taught me how to be grateful for what I can do and do it with grace and not to be angry. So I really stayed focused on the positive side. And now, luckily, she has a new job. She just started actually this week, thank goodness. But, it really has taught me that. Now, being in corporate, I'm like Patrice, you're doing everything for corporate and you're like, okay, when are you going to do something for me? And when they didn't step to the plate for me, that was truly my aha moment. I'm over 50 thinking, okay, they got my back like I got their back, and realizing they didn't have my back. And so that's how now I have gone in with a new attitude, or a better word now I use is pivot for me and pivot for the better of my family and for the environment of my family. Now I focus more on them and what's going to better them. So I have to say that though the pandemic has brought on so many tragedies, as we've heard, as well as learning lessons, I said to me, it has provided me with grace of strength and grace of gratitude that I'm going to pivot regardless of my age. I'm going to go out here and I'm going to rock it. So that's my story.
Thank you so much for sharing. Now we have Jan. She is back with us. Thank you for joining us. And I'd like to introduce Jan. She's actually the catalyst of this conversation. She has a podcast of the same title of this talk, Grief, Gratitude, and Grace. She's a consultant and confidence strategist who also inspires and empowers women to live an abundant life. She's taught many of the tools to do this for themselves, but this last year really left her questioning what tools she had to deal with loss and grief. So Jan, could you please share your story and your thoughts? Thank you.
Yes, thank you. It's such a pleasure to be here. And what a topic. I think the whole world is in grief right now because, as it has been stated, we've all lost life as we know it. Top of the pandemic, this past year, I also lost my best friend, the love of my life, my husband. And because of the pandemic, it made things even tougher. So Rick was diagnosed with cancer. We had no idea that anything was wrong with him. He was, just as fit as could be. And once we got the diagnosis, he left the planet 20 days later. So it was so quick. And a portion of that time, he was in the hospital. So because of the pandemic, we couldn't be together. And we had to literally kiss through masks. And I had to watch him go through the doors of the hospital. Grief has many layers. There's this, layer of losing life as you know it, layer of a loss of a loved one, layers of grief, sickness or disease or, whatever your grief happens to be. But the piece that I wanted to share with you today is that I believe with all of my soul that as human beings, we were created to be happy. We were not created to go through life sad. That is not the plan here. And so even in the midst of all of the different layers of grief, within each of us, joy lives. Peace lives. It lives within us. So it's a matter of learning tools to go through the layers of grief, gratitude is certainly one of those tools, and grace is another tool to help us go through, to truly tap into the joy within us at all times, even in the midst of grief.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Jan. I listened to one of your, I believe it was a podcast the other day, and something that really struck out to me was you had mentioned when you were going through the different stages of grief, and you'd be at the store and something would remind you, and you'd struck with this intense feeling. And you said something that really helped you was naming this feeling instead of trying to ignore it, naming this feeling of grief, acknowledging that perhaps you missed him, but what you really were missing was the companionship or the flow. And so then you turn that grief into gratitude. So can you speak a little bit more about that process of naming and then really reinterpreting that and turning it into a positive tool that you could use?
Yes, I can. So one of the things that I learned through this grief process, and I've been on the planet for a few decades, so this is not rodeo, as we say. And what I learned about grief is that, number one, you really do stop crying, because when you're crying, you think you're never going to stop crying. So you really do stop, like you're not crying for years at a time, and you do get some reprieve. And what I learned to do as the tears would come and the emotion would come, I'll name the tears. Name what the emotion was. What was I crying about? And Sarah alluded to one of the stories is that Rick and I flowed together. We had what I call flow. We were like bread and butter. I mean, we were iron sharpening iron. And he was my best friend. And so, he was all things technical. So he was just that I'm strong in, more done in 5 minutes than a whole year. We were just really, really good together. So one day as I was sitting at my computer and I was trying to work something out, I just had this rush of emotion and the tears began. And I thought, okay, let me name these tears. And what I realized, what I was grieving is called flow. It was the flow. I miss that so badly, that flow. And once I named the tears, then I used a process that I've literally learned through losing Rick. It's called turning grief into gratitude, because my brain thinks very strategically. So once I knew what I was grieving, I realized that the reason I was grieving the flow is because I had it. Some people never experience that. So I learned this process to identify what the grief is about, and then realize that the reason why I'm grieving it is because I had it. So to shift my perspective, to reframe my thoughts into gratitude that I had this amazing man in my life who loved me so much and told me every day how beautiful I was, how smart I was, how lucky he was. And so I shifted that loss, that grief, not ran from it, not stuffed it, but I just shifted the grief into being so grateful. So that's the process that I call from grief to gratitude.
It's beautiful, and it truly is. It's acknowledging the grief. It's not denying it. It's accepting it, and we're stepping through that into perhaps maybe a place of meaning and higher purpose. Would you agree with that as well? There's a bit of a delay, I think. Did you hear that, Jan? I'm afraid she may not be able to hear us. I'll type her a message to refresh. So I'd like to actually ask Patrice, in our conversations, something else that really struck out to me was the power of prayer when you were in the hospital, and also talking about attitude. Attitude is everything. Could you expand and talk a bit more about that?
Yes. So when Jan just brought up something to me when she talked about gratitude. So part of being grateful for something is also inclusive of your attitude about something. When Mom first got sick, she's been with me for years. I've been taking care of her for years. And we've had so much fun with each other and traveled and doing things together. And so when this whole thing with this COVID came about, and we were losing a lot of families, and the attitude, I had to kind of shift my mindset to think, okay, I cannot have an attitude of doom and gloom, because again, like Jan said, we're on this planet. God wants us to be joyful. He talks about that a lot, the joy and having peace on earth and goodwill towards people. So I think we have to learn to have an attitude adjustment sometimes, and step back once you realize what that is, that feeling or that emotion that's making you sad or feeling less than or not confident. You have to kind of some way shift your mindset to say, I'm going to have an attitude of gratitude. I mean, I'm grateful for just being in this moment right here, because that's all we have is the moment that we're in. The next moment is not promised to us. And so having an attitude of gratitude, I think helps a lot of folks, can help you get through your grief, get through any tough times that you're going through. And sometimes we have to talk it out within ourselves. I find myself a lot of times talking to myself saying, okay, Patrice, you didn't do that right. Or, you need to think about this differently. So that attitude adjustment is so key. And so I just encourage anyone that I meet. And I think I was telling you about my guy. Something's happening in his life or what have you. He would come to me and talk to me. I said, it's going to be okay. He says, you always say that. And I said, am I always right? It always turns out okay. It's about how you approach it, right? Mm-hmm. How you look at things. If you look at it and say it's going to be bad, then it's going to be bad. You're right. It's going to be bad. But if I'm saying it's going to be good, it's going to be okay, then my body starts to move towards that, making it okay, and it's going to be all right, right? Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I think attitude is everything when you're dealing with grief or any discomfort in your life.
I agree 100%. Lavina, could you talk to us a bit more about, something that really struck me was the idea of just normalizing the conversation about grief. And it's something that we sort of shy away from as, oh, I don't want to go there. That's, dark and heavy. And it's like, I don't, could you just speak more about your viewpoints on that?
So the thing is that I don't know whether it's because I'm a person of color and, traditionally, there's a whole thing that comes with us. But talking about grief, talking about death is like taboo. Oh, no, we have a good time. Let's have a good time. Let's talk about the happy things. But I did lose a couple of family members, like really far off ones. But the one thing that one of my relatives said to me that I personally realized when I was dealing with my mom's cancer, and she got done with her chemo sessions just before the pandemic hit, was that the best thing, and some parents listening here as well, the best thing that you can do for your children is actually talking to them about it. Because if you don't talk to them about it, they're going to be so lost. They are going to have to deal with the grief and also deal with probably the house, maybe the mortgage, and so many other things. And it is hard because I've seen friends members do it. So we really need to move away from looking at death, grief, or anything for that matter, mental health for that matter, as a taboo or a stigma. And one of the things that stood out that Patrice said was attitude. Really tied together with attitude is, I clearly remember literally breaking down and crying for an hour or so, really breaking down when I heard about my mom, because it's hard. Because I live in the UK, mom's in India, and I was like, oh my God, how am I going to get through this? And I'm the only child. And as a very, very tightly knit family, really small one as well, it's just been me and her over all the years till I got married. So I think what worked for me was accepting that, we have a limited time on earth, and there's a certain process that we all have to go to, and it's going to be inevitable. Acceptance was the first thing I did, that yes, I have to deal with cancer. I'm the only child. I have to step up for my mom. And that was the first step I took. Then I think, like Patrice and Jan said, I got my strength from the Lord. So, when 10 people tell you, oh, it's going to be all right, believe and all, you just have to believe, not just that things are going to be all right, that there's a higher entity looking at things, looking over you, and that things are going to be better, and things happen for a reason. And as weirdly funny as it may sound, I'm actually thankful that mom went through the process before pandemic, because I can't even imagine going through that, like a different continent away. I just can't imagine. So I think we need to accept, and even if you don't believe in the Lord, you have to believe in the universe. You have to believe in a higher entity to get that strength from, because as much as your family members might be there to support you, it might not work for you. And the next thing I believe that did work for me was preparedness. Just like Patrice, I would just talk out in the open. What is it that's affecting me? Why is it hurting me? Is it mom catching cancer? Is it actually me thinking about what might happen if it's not curable? And everything. I realized that one day I was just sad because I was thinking that if it didn't work out, I would be getting her daily texts. So it can be as simple as that, and it could be even bigger than that. So you have to and I also want to say that it's a journey. For some it might just be a switch and you're all right, but for some it's a journey. If there's ebbs and flows, calm, it will glow, and it will get better. So it's a journey, and you just have to go with the attitude, Patrice said, be grateful for the moments you've had, the times you've had. Take each day as it comes. It may be just random things, some random memories, some nice memories, and yes, being prepared and accepting and reaching out for strength was what helped me. So it's really important to have that conversation. So for my mom, I spoke to her because she was scared. She's like, and the thing is that the thing that she was scared of was, what's going to happen to you? I'm like, what's going to happen to me? So, and I'm like, and that was what, hold on, what are you talking? And since I'm the only, she's like, oh my God, if something happens to me, what's going to happen to you? I'm like, but mom, I'm all right. I live with me and the hubby in a different continent. We've managed fine. So, just talking, helping the person who's going through it as well, helping them break down, because they're what's going to happen to me? Helping them talk through it as well actually helps you reach to a point wherein you both are okay. And maybe others are okay in the process as well. because my family members are like, why, how is she so calm? Like, why is she not breaking down? The thing is, I didn't have time to break down. And I had done all the breaking down before I flew to India. And I was like, yeah, let's get this shit done. So, you have to tap somewhere. You have to, take each day as it comes. And I think just talking to my mom, even before the treatment started, really helped us both. Her to understand that I would take care of things if things didn't go the right way, and I would be okay.
That's excellent. I bet you can relate a lot to that, Patrice.
So I have to agree with Lavinia. Just trying to prepare yourself as best you can, because I think the person that is going through the process, they're worried about their children, if they're going to be okay, if everything is going to be taken care of. So when you can give them that relief, I think then that they're, can handle things a lot better. Because I know it was for my mom. She was always worried about me. And I said, Mom, I'm good, and my boys and her kids. And she would always ask those questions, where is this person? Is he okay? Like my oldest brother, she, that's her first child. So of course, he's, and, she would always be worried about him. I was like, he's okay. He's going to be fine, So I think once we can allow them to know that we're going to be okay, then they can get through that process much easier. Their healing process much easier.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. And, speaking of knowing that we're going to be okay, and I think that our faith, our believing in a higher power definitely gets us through those times. And Octavia, get your thoughts on that as well, because I know that you're a woman of faith, and this is a big part of your life. And could you speak to that, your thoughts on that?
Yes, I'm actually taking because I'm actually going through with my mom. And I remember when I was talking yesterday on the phone about this event, I was like, well, for what I do, I'm trying to figure out my place. But I had to also think about what I was dealing with my own mom. But I felt like, well, I can't really speak to that because I'm not there. But that is my mother. So, and that I have small kids. I have all of her grandkids, actually. I have 5, I have a lot, and my sister doesn't have any. So when she called me, they called me the other day from the hospital, I believe it was Sunday. And I'm listening to this woman who's always been, your strength, right? And I'm listening to her sound so weak. And I'm trying to remain strong during that time. And she wanted to talk to her grandchildren. That was all she just wanted to talk to them. So I called my husband quickly. And they all came down. So I have stair steppers. So there's 6, 8, 10, 12, and 14. So we're waiting for all of them to come. The teenager's always going to be the last one at this point. And so everybody's like, it's Nana. And she didn't even have the energy to greet them like she wanted to. In fact, she had to really abruptly get off the phone. The doctors came in to do some more testing. And they were just standing there like, what's going on? And I was like, okay, I think it's time to share a little bit to help them understand. Now, my oldest at 14, and of course my 12-year-old, they understand a little better than the younger ones. But I remember for the rest of that day, I was like, I just don't have the energy. And I know we're talking about grief and gratitude, but there's one part and there was grace. And I gave myself the grace that day to not do anything for the rest of the day. Nothing got picked up. Nothing got cleaned. Nothing. And I just laid in the bed. Sometimes I just stared at the ceiling. Sometimes I took a nap. I don't know why I couldn't get into watching TV or anything. Of course, there's social media. And then other times I just wrote. And other times I just stared off into space. And we oftentimes as women can feel guilty about not doing something, especially when it's something great like that happening in your life. And you're like, I should be doing, maybe I should call, maybe I should text. Because I remember texting my mom and my sister text back like, she can't text right now. And I was like, right. But that's what I'm used to. My mom and I would text a lot, right? And she would call. She's always interested in what her grandchildren are doing. But I gave myself the grace to just be. And I think sometimes we're constantly doing, and we feel like we constantly need to accomplish and get things done. But sometimes That's the grace of it all. And we need to be the ones who give ourselves that grace, because it doesn't matter if anyone else does, but we need to give it to ourselves, because we can be the hardest, our biggest critic and the hardest on ourselves. Me for the next day, because the next day I'm well rested and I'm like, it's a new day, a new start. You know, maybe there's a change, maybe there's some good news. I'm looking forward. I'm prepared for the day, knowing that the worst could happen, but prepared that I'm going to embrace what the day brings. And I think that grace helps a whole lot with us. I think it gives us rest and peace. And like Jan was saying, that joy.
Yeah, that's a really important subject, is allowing ourselves and giving ourselves that grace. As you mentioned, as women, we're multitasking. We're trying to wear so many different hats and do it all. And so allowing, especially now, you know, with everything, you know, hanging overhead, allowing that, giving ourselves permission. I agree. That's so, so important. We've got a new joining us. I think we're just checking
So Jan is on mute. I see Jan is on mute. Can you unmute yourself, Jan, on your screen? Can you unmute yourself, love? There's underneath your. Okay, we need to tell Jan to unmute. Jan, unmute.
We want Jan to join the conversation, and she's having some audio problems.
Oh my goodness. Hold on. There you go. Can you hear us?
I can hear now.
Can you hear us? Can you hear us? Speak. Can you speak?
Yes, I can now. I can now.
Oh my
Yes.
goodness.
Wonderful. Thank you, Jan. Oh my goodness. The wonderful
Sorry
world of
about that.
new technologies.
This is what we anticipated. So get back in. What was your question, Sarah? And I just wanted to make sure she could get in.
Yeah, no, we're just again sort of, you know, we've shared stories, and we're just expanding on that. And really what I wanted to ask next of our panelists, and maybe Pamela could open this up, is where do you think as women we can contribute and have the most impact in moving forward? We've all learned, you know, some really important lessons through this time. So what have we learned from that? And again, where can we contribute to have the most impact?
So I feel where we can do the most impact, first of all, using our inner strength. I feel that this COVID has really, if nothing else, has taught us what our strengths were, our really true strengths. You know, you think it's one thing, and then lo and behold, out of nowhere, here comes another strength that really tunes into to identify who you really are. And taking that and using it to implement into your life. You know, again, we're still facing tragedy, even though COVID is supposedly opening up, but we're still facing the tragedy. So using that second aha button, as I would say, using it to the fullest and using it to helping us move to the next level, whatever that next level is, because we're still so blinded by the tragedies, the not knowing, the unknowns, and the everything else that we're missing, that second aha. But the second aha is really us being focused and being, as well as knowing what our true strengths are, whatever it may be, and looking how we can use it to help us get to the next level and not just sit, but to move forward. And that's the hard part. You know, we as women are the women of creatures of feeling and empathy. It is just like all the ladies said, it's hard for us to move forward on so much, but we do have to. But there's just times we need to move forward, and that second aha helps us move to that point.
I agree. Drawing on that inner strength, we never quite know how strong we are until we're put to that test. And you know, I too have experienced losing both of my parents quite early in my 20s, and you know, really put to the test. And just when you didn't think you could handle anymore, you know, something else is thrown at you. But guess what? Here I am today. I'm smiling. I'm with these amazing women, and you know, I got through it. And so And I draw upon that inner strength, knowing that I was able to get through it. So that's a really wonderful observation. Thank you, Pamela. Jan, would you like to also add to the conversation of how you think as women we can contribute and to others and moving forward?
Sure. I would say that it comes down to a quality decision. There is a decision that I made within that I was not going to get stuck in what I call the grief loop. You know, I know people who they loop back around and they're stuck, and it's 10 years later and it's 20 years later and they're still stuck. And life is for the living. It doesn't mean it doesn't hurt. It doesn't mean that it's easy, but it's that quality decision where I am determined that I am not stay stuck in that loop. Rick would never want that for me. So it really begins with what I call a quality decision.
And I think mercy too, giving yourself the mercy, you know, that forgiveness, fulfilling.
A lot of grace.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because I think, you know, we tend to get into this rut because we're used to doing things a certain way. And when some tragedy happens and the thought of stepping outside of that sometimes is very fearful and scary. And especially when you've had a partner for as long as you and Rick have been with each other, I can definitely see how there's a possibility that you could get stuck, and you making that quality decision to say, I'm not going to do that. He wouldn't want me to do it that way, to be, you know, sad and just not going on with life. And, you know, remembering the good times that you guys had is so important. And to make that conscious decision to do that is very key. It's very key. Thank you, Jan. Bless you.
It looks like we have Gail has joined us. Gail, can you hear us? Are you there, Gail? I see her icon up on the screen, but I think we might be having audio problems.
I think she's on mute. She might have to unmute herself.
Yeah.
If you can hear us, unmute yourself. It is I believe it's the top right corner. Is that what it was? Unmute.
Should be able to find it at the bottom of all the
Of her, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's her. On the bottom of the screen. I'll just send her another message because I'd love for her to join our conversation as well.
I don't know if Anu, as the moderator, has to unmute because it looks like there's another mic. Do you guys see that on hers?
I do. Yeah,
I do.
So we might need to send it because Anu may have had her muted on her end as well.
Sarah, while we're waiting, may I share one more key component that I feel like will so unlock someone's heart today?
Please, that would be wonderful.
God, ask your higher power, ask the question, what action could I take to bring honor to this situation? When I took an action of, we as a family planted a tree in the backyard in Rick's name in honor of him, taking that action so I don't know what action would work for you, but if you'll ask, what action could I take to really honor this situation? It reframes it. So that helped me a lot. I wanted to pass that on.
Yeah, that's And that's being, proactive and taking, owning these feelings and not feeling so, and I don't mean this in a bad way, victim to them, but having some power, some control that you can somehow walk through this. Would you agree with that, Jan?
I missed that. Through this, what was the question again?
Well, just by asking what action I can take, it's taking ownership and giving yourself some empowering yourself and giving yourself some feeling of control and what could often feel like an out of control situation.
100%, Sarah.
Couldn't hear that. Oh, okay, great. Thank you.
Yes.
Octavia, I didn't get a chance to ask you where you think as women we can contribute and have the most impact in moving forward. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on
that. I think we have the most impact moving forward. And I know this is going to kind of sound, because I know we have this pandemic still, going on and we're separated. But I think not only having events like this, but also us coming together and sharing like we are and having someone to lean on. Now, I know we may or may not have our mates. We need friends. We need some girlfriends. We need some ladies that got some battle scars in life in areas, and those scars weren't there, but it healed. And so when we have those type of ladies in our lives, that's like saying, I've been there where you've been, or I've been through, and I have the scars to prove it. But sis, I just want you to know you're going to make it. You're going to make it. I've made it. And, maybe sometimes when we're at tea and coffee, we're, looking at our battle scars, and we're looking at how long, remembering how that it hurt and how long it took us to heal, but that we did heal. And I think that comes from us being together and being there for one another, even if virtually. If we have to do that virtual hugs can work, virtual conversations, virtual tea, and being able to share. And I think we don't have to go at it alone. I know we may have to physically do some things alone, but there should be some type of support where we can be there for one another. Because even in what I do as a sexologist, when I work with ladies from the frustration and sex to liberation, one of the biggest things I'm telling them is a support. You can't do this alone. If you go into church and you feel like you're not being heard or they're not addressing we're grown now, so we can actually build women in our support system that could be there to support us, the systematic systems of support in place with us as women. So I think that's a big part of it. At least for me, I need that, and I love my husband and everything, but he doesn't always understand me as a woman in certain areas. Not saying that men are not smart or intelligent enough, but there's something about woman to woman contact and woman to woman encouragement that fills a gap that may be there with others that you may not have, of course, with your children, and you may not have with your mate. But I think we need it all. And I think that rounds us out very well to work to get through these situations.
I think that's so key. And we're like you said, we're doing that today. We're in community, we're supporting one another. And it's so important, in our lives on a regular basis, but especially now, and asking yourself, how can I be of service, and how can I support myself, and doing that, supporting others. So great point, Octavia. Lavinia, you didn't get a chance to answer yet either, and I'd like to get your thoughts on that. Where do you think as women we can contribute in having the most impact moving forward?
There's something I came across recently, like really recently. And I think it's applicable not just for, when you're going through grief, but just in everyday life as well. So it was a tweet. I don't remember who tweeted it, but the one thing that we can ask and, probably ask others to do as well is whenever we're facing a situation, if someone is looking for support, The one question that really does make a difference is, are you looking for comfort or solutions? Because as women, sometimes we just need, just some comfort. We're not really looking for solutions. Our mind is doing all the thinking we can, like overthinking in my case, what would happen. And I'm trying to analyze so much. But for me, just coming across this tweet just made so much sense. Am I looking for comfort or solutions? Works very well with husbands, but even otherwise, in times of grief, you're not really looking for someone to tell you, what to do or how to deal with it. Probably it isn't applicable to you. All you're looking for is maybe just someone to go and have some coffee, maybe, or a beer, maybe. Just looking for some company, for some time out from that situation, or the daily grind that is now the new normal for you, maybe. So, your comfort can be anything you want it to be. And like Octavia said, you need to give yourself grace, that, this is going to be, probably the new normal for a while, maybe for a longer time, that you are allowed to have your own sense of peace, normality, a little, self-care. And in such situations, yes, women work really good with women, but even in such a situation, like, ask. And I've tried implementing this, and it does make a difference. Are you looking for comfort? Are you looking for solutions? And we need to, just being there, just, makes a big world of difference, I would say.
Agree. Thank you, Lavinia. And Pamela, I'd also like to give you the opportunity and hear your thoughts about where you think we can make the most impact in moving forward.
Absolutely. I feel that we as women need to lock our arms together and know and hug each other and know that we're here for each other, no matter what. We all are going through so much, but check on each other, call them. Funny enough, my girlfriends and I, we went out to dinner last Friday for the first time. I think we spent 2 hours at the restaurant because we haven't seen each other at all, so it was really nice to do some checkpoints, or the well point checks, just to make sure everyone's okay mentally. Those of us that are introverts, we're okay, sometimes being in, but the extroverts likes the hugging and the touching and the feeling, but doing some checkpoints and making sure everyone is okay and hugging on each other is so essential right now, because once you do all of that, everything else will be so easy to deal with.
That's great advice. Thank you. It looks like we're just coming up on time, and we've got a bit more. We can go over a few minutes, but what I'd really like to end with is, and on a real positive note here, what are you most looking forward to doing post-pandemic that you think is going to help change the world? So maybe we could jump to Patrice, if you can hear me okay.
I can.
Okay, great.
So post-pandemic, for me, I think I want to do more of this, offering the opportunities for us to get together and come together and support each other, doing the webinars to offer some solutions, some inspiration, some encouragement to move forward, because this, like everyone has been saying, this may be our new normalcy, but what we can do is create it in a way that is beneficial for all. And so while we may not be able to meet face to face and get those hugs, because I love hugs too, but we can do things like you said, well checks, checking in with each other, just making sure, Lavinia, you were in the UK. I can reach out to you, send you a quick, video or something and say, hey, just checking in on you. Is everything cool? Even picking up the phone, just staying connected. I think that's where we need to do, especially now as we move forward. Hopefully that this pandemic is going to get better. Travel. We can plan a trip together. I mean, I would love to go on a cruise or something with you gals and just really have a good time, as long as we're safe, of course. Just planning some things, some get together things, webinars, trips, talks. Just having a talk it out session, whatever you may be going through, because I think it is very important for us to stay connected, especially as we get past all of this.
100% agree. Jan, would you like to add in on that? What you're looking most forward to post-pandemic?
For me, that's easy. So many people, I'm going to touch them and kiss their face and just, get all over people that I wanted to hug for so long. It's just this lack of physical touch. That's one of my love languages. I cannot wait to hug a bunch of people. And whoever wants to go on a cruise, Patrice, I just landed a client, you guys, Atlas Ocean Voyagers. Look them up. They're in the Mediterranean Sea. And I will be on their cruise for 18th and then 2 weeks, whatever those 2 weeks are. Come and join me. It's the Greece and Italy, and then it's the bucket list.
2 places I wanted to go.
So come. Okay, I'm just saying, y'all can join me. It's in September, the Atlas Ocean Voyager, and it's a boutique ship that holds 150 people. So it'll be fun. I'm going to hug people.
Lavinia, I would like to hear what you're looking most forward to post-pandemic.
I think just getting out of the house. The UK hasn't really done a good job of handling it. We are still in lockdown. We are still going to be in lockdown in some phase or the other till June. But the one thing I've learned is during the pandemic is that we have so many facets to us. Like, I'm an extrovert, but just having this, of course, it's been too much of it, but just having this time to myself, realizing how I, spend my energy, who I spend it with, the fact that it is up to me how I choose to spend it with has been quite a revelation. And keeping that in mind, once I do get out, I'm going to be, pushing boundaries in the way that, I think like Patrice said, picking the phone and calling is so like it's getting one of, the things we used to do in olden times, so to say. But it's so nice to hear someone's voice on the other end. I work in social media in a way, and just putting the phone away has been really nice as well, not constantly working on it. So those are the few things I think I will keep on doing, and of course getting out and probably traveling again, because that is my other job from like 6 to 9. So yeah, more of that.
I agree with you, and it's something that I'm hearing echoed over and over again. It's just getting back to basics, things that in our busy, lives pre-pandemic, where we were always on the go, gazillion places in a day, and just one of these gifts that's come forward is getting back to basics, picking up the phone, taking the time to slow down and reconnect. So definitely agree with you on that. Octavia, how about you? What are you looking most forward to?
Definitely going home, hoping to see things are better with my mom. But I think one of the biggest things is family vacation. I have to look at all that happened to slow down and reconnect as families. So it's like looking at the silver lining of things. Like we don't like that it happened. We don't like that so many people passed from or harmed from it. We don't like that. There is a silver lining, though, that it helped us to slow down, reconnect, learn, kind of balance things out. What's priority, and how can we keep this now going forward? How can we keep it so we're not always having to, we need something else to help slow us down to reconnect going forward? How can we get to the point where we're like, oh God, we have this again, but let us not forget that it took some things to slow us down to reconnect. And so traveling, maybe now we'll pull over and smell the roses for real. Maybe we'll know, when you're just traveling to the gas station, and our mind is so full of what I got to do, getting there, whatever, that we missed all these things aside. Wow, we're looking and say, wow, I never knew that tree was there. I never, because we're always so constantly in the future or in the past. But if one thing this has done is help me to be more in the moment and take that with me and going forward while traveling, while going to see people, and like Jan said, hugging and touching again. So I'm looking forward to all of that and taking what I've learned with me as well.
That's excellent. Yeah, and I agree with you again. Just taking the time to be present and be really mindful. That's and moving forward and not forgetting these lessons. 100%. Pamela, and what do you look forward to most post pandemic?
I feel one thing that I'm look forward to is reconnecting. Reconnecting to, I have to say, the pandemic had made me, because I am an introvert, so I was really okay to myself. So reconnecting with everyone. And I'm like you, Octavia, start paying attention to what's coming, what's going this way. You know, as I'm going down the highway of life, pay attention as the stop signs and the bumps and the birds and the tree, just paying attention and being more mindful of what's going on around me. But also too, the pandemic did open up my eyes and understand that I was taking a lot for granted. And so what I was taking for granted now realize that was a blessing. And so take those blessings and just grow from there.
That's beautiful, beautiful observation. So I'd just like to open up the conversation. If anyone would like to follow up on what was said, or if we have questions for each other, if any of the viewers would like to enter any questions in the chat box, it is open. We're trying to get Jan back on. She's having some audio problems. Jan, can you hear us? If you can you give us a thumbs up?
I see Gail is trying to get in as well. I don't know how we can help her. Not sure.
Yeah, that she would be waiting for approval, but I'm not getting a notification on my end, so I've just sent a new message because it would be nice to have Gail in the conversation.
Yeah.
Well, I think we'll give it a few more minutes for Gail to join, because it would be great. And while we're waiting, Patrice, can I ask you what you're most grateful for during all of this?
I'm most grateful for having the time to slow down, because I was one of those people who was always doing something, got something going on, and now, and especially now, because I work from home, and I really, even though I was working from home, I was always busy. So just taking that time to really slow down and not feeling that I have to rush off to do everything. And so I'm grateful for that. And of course, you know, the typical things of being grateful for your family, the connection with your family. Because I think I mentioned to you too, I was remodeling my family's home. And so having that time to do that has been awesome, because I've been able to connect with my brothers, and we've had such a good time doing this together. So yeah, that's what I'm grateful for.
That is truly a gift, getting to spend time together. As adults and family members, we get busy with our own lives, and it's not as easy to spend that time together. So 100% agree with you on that. Lavinia, what are you most grateful for?
I think just slowing down, just like Patrice said. But also, for me, slowing down meant actually slowing down on things that I knew I wanted to, but never got a chance. So like social media, like daily commute to work. I'm not really a fan of that. But also actually staying busier than ever. Like I launched a new website, to empower women last year. I started writing a book. I took up more speaking gigs. I took up website development. So like all of those things that was sitting, catching dust, one fine day, the pandemic gave me the one fine year, to get everything started. So yeah, like slowing down on things, but also staying busier than ever. And of course, like, using the time to check where my priorities lie, ensuring I bring my circle closer, make it more tight knit. So yeah, using this time and trying to look at the silver lining, so to say, and give the things that never get the time, the due importance.
Excellent. Thank you. Pamela, what are you most grateful for?
I have to say life. I mean, I know that's a tall order, but I'm gonna have to say life. I mean, here we have gone through, reality of it. I'm like all of you, I'm very spiritual. I believe God did. The pandemic was to say, okay, stop. Pay attention to what you have in front of you. You're not paying attention. And I have to say I really wasn't paying attention. So I have to say I am very grateful for life. I just can't say much more about it, but just life itself.
Beautiful thing to be grateful for, most definitely. And Octavia, what are you most thankful for and grateful for?
Aside from the other things that, everyone has said, believe it or not, social media. I wouldn't have known how people were doing if it wasn't for social media. Everybody doesn't have my number. Everybody don't need my number either. But having the access to social media and seeing friends and what they were dealing with, big wins, even things that were sad or tragic, it really shaped the course of our life. It's like, because of it, we were bonded together because we were all in the same. Mm-hmm. And then we saw what people were out with cameras when it came to Black Lives Matter and things like that. And we all had a chance to speak on it. They had the opportunity to have a voice and a say, while also updating you on their lives. So I have to say, I was grateful for social media during this time. It was a big part of our lives.
Yeah, that is so true. And keeping us connected in ways that we never really knew to what extent before. So I just want to thank you all for this really inspiring talk. And I don't know about you guys, but I am full of gratitude right now, full of gratitude for speaking with you all, learning from you, sharing our stories. And I just want to thank you again for this opportunity. For those that are viewing, all of the contact details of our speakers are in the chat. So if you something that someone said really resonated with you, you want to connect further, please feel free to reach out and connect. Like we said, we need to support one another right now and moving forward. So this is one of those ways. And I just thank you all, and we'll close now and have a beautiful rest of your day or evening.
Yes, and I want to add, make sure that you guys visit the State of Women, sheconomy.com, and join the network, because this is an opportunity for us to really stay connected and share, and make impact in the world. We're up to some amazing things, and I want you guys to be a part of it. So definitely make sure you join the network. This is an opportunity for us to really stay connected. So thank you, ladies. It was nice meeting everyone, and I'll be in touch. I will be in touch.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.